Design iteration / exploration 1. Overview of the whole process. We went over the general process of any tasks before. Let me explain that again before we move on to talk about the individual tasks. Most design tasks start with probing the possibility for direction, and this is done by you, concept artist, making lots of sketches that show the different directions the design could go. After presenting your rough sketches to your client / art director, they will likely choose several options among them and will want to see them developed further. When this too goes through their choices, you will be left with fewer directions. Repeat this loop until you have a final design. Once you have a final pick, finish rendering it out front and back. This is roughly how most of the design tasks are like. And here we will look at the initial phase, one of the most important phases of the whole design process. What iterations are for concept artists and how you do it. Whatever we see visually in any game when we play the game is the final version of many iterations of them. Almost nothing gets made in their final form from the start. These usually are made in many different versions first to explore many different possibilities the design can go. That is exactly what happens during the first phase of the task. As a concept artist, you are nicely equipped with the ability to visualize any idea that lots of people in the production of the games only have in their minds. And you are used in the large machinery of production that is making games for precisely this ability. And making iterations and exploring various ideas and showing these in the form of quick sketches is the first step on deciding how any assets will look like in the actual game. About 60 to 80% of all the design decisions and all the major ones through the entirety of the process are made in this phase. Though you usually wouldn't have a final say in how any designs will be finished, it's still through your fingertips that these designs will come to be. Relish in the fact that what you create will be the part of experience that gives joy to many people. Remind yourself by checking the images from 3-1 to 3-7 again. These are roughly what you should cook up for this phase of the tasks. You will get a brief about what you're going to do in text form, possibly with some reference images. These are usually from pop culture media like movies, TV shows, games, anime, etc. We already looked through the kind of things that you're designing as a character concept artist. Let's remind ourselves again. Humanoid characters, main characters, NPCs of various kind, their animations and VFXs, their gears / weapons, their styles, hairstyles / faces, other character related props. For creatures, creatures of varying degree of fantasiness, from horses to dragons and everything in between. Monsters that players fight, their animations and VFXs. Keyframe images, various in-game assets, their animations and VFXs. Paintovers of various sorts. These things will be your responsibility to design. It is a good idea to read the brief carefully and thoroughly. Make notes or mark things that are important if you need to. You then make several sketches of the idea that matches the brief. 3 to 5 sketches are usually enough for the initial exploration. The key is to provide the client/art director as wide of a range of options as possible to choose from, while still meeting the instructions from the brief you got. Generally, you sketch 1 or 2 safest options that match everything in the brief as closely as possible first, and then do a couple more experimental ones that still explore worthwhile directions. Let's look at the brief example you could be given. Brief example. St. George, a captain of a mercenary group dealing with monster infestation problems. Male, late 20s to early 30s. Background. A captain of a mercenary crew called Dragon's Bane. His band of warriors is known for slaying dragons. He started the company alone after his pilgrimage to the Holy Land fighting crusade. Soon he became the leader of a small band of misfits. A monster-slaying warrior on a griffin is quite the memorable image as a sword for hire, one that is very good for making a lot of coins if used in certain ways. But being the kind of person he is, George and his crew always end up helping people more than they bargain for, and often have a hard time paying for stuff. Sometimes they will have some description about how they look or some other features of the characters. For example, short blonde hair, average build, green eyes, gregarious, sarcastic, earnest, stoic, etc. In such cases, this will already narrow down the possible range of sketches. But sometimes they don't have anything at all about the appearances, so you can explore more freely. This is up to how each studio or each task works. For this class, obviously, we don't have any briefs to start our work from. You can try writing a brief first if it's easier to start the design process that way. For now, I will introduce a way to start the design process with or without one here. Let's assume that there is little restriction about how the character should look like, so that we can practice the aspect of giving the widest range of options possible to choose from to the clients. This way, the resulting sketches will be able to prove that you can handle making options diverse for the clients. After reading a brief, or in our case without it, the following needs to be done. 1. Making the spectrum. 2. Searching the reference images. 3. Sketching out several characters. What is making the spectrum? Imagine a line with 2 opposing words or different concepts at each end, like this. All the sketches you'll be doing are in this spectrum with varying degree of those 2 words represented. If the 2 words you choose are different enough, this will create a wide range of characters that look different enough from each other. A linear, gradual change between 2 words could be too boring, especially if you're aiming to produce more than 3 to 4 for the iteration. So mix in some different keywords on some of your sketches to spice things up. How do you come up with those 2 words? The brief usually contains enough information about the characters, so this isn't a huge problem for you. In my case, the goal was to design a saint figure that slays dragons. Saint George is a figure from the English tale for those of you who don't know him. So I can follow typical images of saints or holy figures in pop culture contents, or focus more on the aspect that he is a dragon slayer who could be quite a brutal warrior.